Chess is more than a game. It's strategy, it's intelligence, it's friendship. Welcome to my world. Welcome to my channel. The game has just begun.
Hi chess friends, today I want to show you a really particular game because here we have an incredible endgame that never happened, and you will be surprised in the end. This game is so long, but wait for the end to see this wonderful endgame. Here we have Parham, Maghsoodloo against Pentala, Harikrishna. Parham plays with the white pieces, Harikrishna with black pieces, and we can begin. So, d4 by Parham, d5 by Harikrishna. Now c4 and c6 to keep the defense of the pawn better. Knight 3 and knight e6. e3 and now bishop f5. Black develops his bishop, and this way he controls this light square diagonal. We have knight c3 and e6 to keep an eye always on the d5 square. Knight h4 attacking this bishop, and if this bishop doesn't move, like for example a move like this, knight can capture here and will be a weakness maybe on a f file, okay, but nothing of worst. Here we have simply bishop e4 by black. f3 to attack light square bishop, and now bishop g6. We have queen b3, typical development of the queen to control the b7 squares, the b file, to put pressure on b7 square. And now queen b6, asking if white want to change the queen and to defend the to block the attack on the b7 pawn. We have knight capture for g6, pawn capture for g6 with an open on h file for this rook, for the black rook, and now bishop d2 by white. Knight d7, black continue to develop, and long castle by Parham. Queen capture for b3, pawn capture for b3, and now bishop b4. King c2, correct move. In this way, this king here is well placed, and this rook can come on a1 to put pressure on a7, and this bishop could come here in the future like bishop d3, with the idea to bring the rook on a file and also the rook on a file to double up to attack any a7 pawn. Long castle by black, and now bishop d3 like prevented. We have a6. This pawn will be a target really soon, so it's a nice way to defend. And now simply bishop e1. The idea is to bring the bishop maybe in g3, on g3, to cut away this diagonal for the black king, okay. Bishop d6, because bishop g3 is coming, and now h4 by white. Knight e6. This knight here has no future, can't come on e4, can come on g4, so the best way is to come back with the knight to use for another square. So knight is e8, and now e5 to take some activity from this position that seems really close. We have a knight c7, and now bishop f2. Bishop e7, and now g4. Parham continues to push his pawn. a5, and now bishop g4. free, like prevented. This bishop here, he's so active, he's so strong, and controls this diagonal. Knight b8, and now bishop e2. Bishop d6, blocking the white bishop, and now there is a tension, so you have to move the bishop or change, and here we have simply e5. In this way, black bishop has to come back, and bishop b4 by black continues to attack this knight. And now c5, and now this bishop is completely blocked, so probably black has to play something like bishop for c3, for knight for c3, because will be obliged, surely. We have b6 to try to open up this diagonal. This pawn could be captured, I know, and happens, but in this way this bishop can come back, and this pawn is undefendable. So really soon it's only a temporary sacrifice of pawn, okay, because the b pawn will be captured really soon. So knight b8 to attack this pawn, and now knight a2 to attack dark square bishop. Here, if you try to defend this pawn with knight a4, seems a good idea. Yes, you defend, but here black has several ways to attack this pawn. Could play something like king b7, and next move will be an attack here for this b pawn, or you could simply play something like knight d7 to attack 2 times this pawn, and this pawn will be undefendable. So you can defend this pawn. So knight a2, and bishop come back here. We have bishop e7, the best move, and now bishop e1, several maneuver of the bishop. Here white can attack this weak pawn and could take a pawn, and now king b7. Black prepared to capture the b pawn. Here follows bishop capture for a5, and now white has 2 pawns more than black, but here we have simply c5. D capture for c5, bishop capture for c5, and now black is ready to capture the b6 pawn. We have b4, and now bishop capture for b6, and now instead capture. This pawn is double up, so white here would like to recapture this bishop with b4 a5 and have this pass pawn really strong, but obviously after f4, here we have rook c8, not bishop for a5, and knight c3. Knight c6. If here you are thinking something like d4, because this knight is pinned to capture the knight, here there is a simple solution. You have some check. You can open this diagonal, and after the king move, this bishop can be captured with check, and after, for example, knight capture, you can simply capture this pawn, and this will be simply completely winning for white, okay? So you can't do this. You have to keep an eye on this diagonal, because this light square bishop can become a monster. However, knight c6, and now bishop capture for b6. Knight for b6, and now we have reached this position with white with 6 pawns and black with 5 pawns. And now king b3 to activate his king. Rook a8. Both players want to take a control on a file with their rook. And now b5 to attack this knight. Knight a5 check. King b4. Parham continues to push his king on the the file, advanced files to have a lot of activity. Knight c4, b3, attacking the knight, and now knight e3. In this way, this knight attacks the white rooks that has to move. Simply rook d1, rook c1 to take the control of c file, open c file. So here black has the control on a file and white the same on the c file. We have rook c8 to counterattack, and now bishop f3 with the idea to pin this pawn. Rook a1, really nice move by black. Here if you capture the rook, for example in this way, there is simply knight c2 with check, and now after the king move the rook comes here and this is checkmate. So you can't capture this pawn, this rook, because is after rook here is not only a problem. Yes, here white is obliged to come here, has no square, because there is a knight on to control a4, there is a knight to control a3, and the rook controls the c file, so you have no option, and this is checkmate. So really good move by black. But here white can ignore it and push h5. We have g capture for h5, and now g capture for h5. We have king b7. If you try here to capture the rook, you don't resolve nothing, because follow rook capture for c1, and you continue to defend the c file, okay? From the reaching of the knight, c2 square from the reaching of the knight. So we have king b8, and now f5. Pawn capture for f5. The idea is that you can capture with the knight this pawn, because if you capture with the knight you lose your rook, okay? E capture for f5, and now h6 to break some damage on this pawn structure. G capture for h6, and now follows rook capture for a1. Rook c2, and now king a5. This time is not checkmate, because this rook can come on a8, okay? So king b7 to prepare a checkmate on a8, but here we have bishop capture for e5, knight capture for d5, and now rook capture for h6. A wonderful idea to defend from checkmate. Rook can come on a6 and to block checkmate, okay? So here we have rook capture for c3. You have not to do this check, because follow this move, and now white is completely safe. So rook capture for c3, and now rook a4. Really complicated endgame, really complicated game. Knight e3. Now black has these two pair of knights, white has a rook, and now e6 with the same idea, to create a pass pawn, to attack and to break some damage, and oblige to simplify some material. So here we have f capture for e6, and now rook capture for e6, and now black has one only pawn remain, so try to push f4. We have rook capture for f4, knight capture for f4 to attack this rook, but here follows rook check, rook b6 check, and now king c7. This pawn was too dangerous, so here it's not the best move, but it's so complicated position. So black is so near this pawn on f1. He want to promote, and here white decide to capture this pawn, because was too pressure for white. Okay, knight capture for f4. This rook is attacked, and now rook b6 check, king c7, and now rook c6. Check. Rook capture for c6, pawn capture for c6, and now knight d5. And now I know what you are thinking. It is possible to win for white here with the 2 pass pawn against 2 knight, or it's possible for black to win. It's really difficult because here white has to draw, because there is a problem. For you know that king against a king and 2 knights, it's a draw because there is no checkmate with 2 knights in chess. But here is different, and this is the reason why this endgame is so rare. Okay, because here we have 2 pass pawn, and this could be a changement, really interesting changement in the endgame. So continue. We have b4, but here knight b6, king b5 to defend this pawn, and now knight e6. So some check is coming, and this pawn will be lost. The c pawn. We have king a6, and now simply king capture for c6. Seems a completely winning position for black, but it's a draw because you can't do checkmate with only 2 knights. Okay, so we have b5 check, and now king d5, king b7, knight d8 check, and king c7. Really here all moves, it's a draw. It's incredible, but black want to try to use this pawn to avoid the draw. Okay, so knight f7, king b7, knight e5. Now we have a lot of moves, several moves. King c7, knight d7, and now king d8, king d6, and now king e8. Still draw position, knight e5, and now king f8, king e6. Black try to close the white king. The idea is this knight has to remain here on b6 to stop this pawn and oblige white king for a move. Okay, king g7, and now king f5 with the idea to block the g6 square from the white king. King h6, white king try to escape, and now king g4 with the same idea. You have to block the white king. White king has to remain here. Okay, in this way you block h5, and white can't do nothing. So king h7, and now king h5, still a draw position, but here we have king g7 and king g5. It's too late because here from this move, after king h7, black has the position and all moves are losing, but you have to play precise. Okay, king g7 with black to win, king g5, and now king h7. Here we have knight f6, f7. This is a mistake because allow a black to draw. Here white should play king g8 to have a position, but it's not, because white here plays king g7 and knight d6, and now black has a winning idea. Okay, king h7, knight a5, and now king g8, a really incredible endgame. King f6, and now this king cannot escape. It's so close. White has always to move the king, so king h7, and here king f7, and we reach this position where black is completely fine, because this king has to continues to move h7 h8 h7 h8, because the g8 g7 g6 square are controlled by black king, and h6 square are controlled by the knight. Okay, h6, king h8, And now knight d7. Now black has to decide if, but here we have the resign for white, because white has no option. Here you could try to move your king, for example king h7, but here follows simply knight f8 check, king has to come here, and now knight h4, or you can play whatever you want, for example this, and there is no way to stop knight g6 checkmate, okay? And if white here decide to promote to a queen, it's the same, black ignores it completely, you can play whatever you want, you can play still knight f6, and after this push we have knight e7 or knight h4, you have to come on g6, so knight e7, and white can promote to a queen, whatever you want, but here we have knight g6, and this is checkmate. So what a rare position, what a rare endgame, because here if white hadn't have this white pawn, would have completely losing or completely draw position, okay, because this endgame is a draw position, but with this pawn black can avoid a draw and take a win from this incredible game. So I hope this video enjoy you. Thank you really much for watching my video. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and see you soon with another video. Bye bye.